Friends, welcome. Welcome to this Snell Lecture as we celebrate today the National Indigenous Day of Prayer. Bishop George Snell left a bequest to the Cathedral, which amongst other things provides for a series of lectures on matters of theology and what it means to live as a Christian in the world, engaging with the mission and the calling of the Church, and that broadly is what we talk about in the Snell Lectures. And tonight we have an extremely distinguished lecturer with us. The Most Reverend Chris Harper is the National Indigenous Archbishop for the Anglican Church in Canada, and he's going to address us in a moment. I believe the address is going to begin with a piece of music, and we have through until about 7 p.m. So when the Archbishop has finished his address, he and I will be up here. I'm sure I will have a question or two to ask from the chair, as it were, but then we'll be opening it up. So if things occur to you as you're listening to what the Archbishop has to say, make a note or a mental note so that you can ask that question when we come to the Q&A part of the evening. There will be a roving handheld microphone, so if you have a question, then we will bring a microphone to you so that we can hear what you want to ask. And I will say now what I will say again, and maybe have to say more than once during the course of the evening. The floor will be open for questions, not little talks. We've all been there, haven't we? Questions, not little, our own little sort of sermonettes. We won't be doing that, so that we can get through as many of them as we can. But without further ado, can we give a warm welcome, it's a very warm welcome, to the Most Reverend Chris Harper.
We'll give everyone a few moments here. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that, it's a great honor to be here. I think this is my second lecture that I've been blessed to be able to do and to speak and to talk at. And as I do more travels, and especially in this role as the National Indigenous Anglican Archbishop, I come to some realizations that, you say things that people want to hear, and I say a lot of things that people don't like to hear. So my loving wife, who always looks after me and everything else like that, she said, well, wherever you go, I pray that you have a fan that will always be there for you. So, and it works. I wanted to just start talking about something that is very important to me, and that is truth-telling. I think everyone likes somebody who tells the truth, don't you? But at the same time, there's a realization, there's an old saying, an old adage that goes something like this: truth hurts. Do you remember hearing that? So I wanted to bring you along on a story, because everything starts with a story, and I come from a long line of storytellers, being an Indigenous Plains Cree man myself. And the reality is that my grandfather was probably one of the greatest storytellers, and at the same time, one of the greatest teachers that I could have ever had, who influenced my life. My Muslim used to be able to tell stories with a sense of humor, a sense that always had a lesson to it, but always brought you around with a smile. I think those are the best stories. I remember him telling stories about the reality of life, to walk in humility, and to always be in that right space of where we are right now. And I remember him always about a man that was so humble. He was a big man. I think he was about 6'2". I'm 6'2", and my father was 6'1", so I come from a long line of tall men. And I remember the stories he used to tell, and they always have stayed with me. And he talked about the land, he talked about the horses, he talked about all the things that were important in his circle, in his experience. And he talked about all the things that seemed real. Do you know what I mean? And in speaking about things that are real, it kept me grounded. And a lot of them were filled with songs. Now you have to understand, my grandfather came from the residential school. And for him, anything Indian was not good. My grandmother, also residential school. My mother, residential school. So I was raised with the teaching, you are an Indian, you are nothing, don't try. So when you're at rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. And being the stubborn son of a gun that I am, I elected that I am going to push the boundaries of what is where I'm supposedly limited to and encapsulated into. And it talks of my own life within those realms of story and what we were called to be as Indigenous peoples. My great-grandfather was a healer. He was also a great man of faith. My mother speaks about how he would sing his songs, and he would sing with a drum that no one else was supposed to touch, only the ones he had chosen. Only those with the right heart and the right mind, those with a calling. And my great-grandfather drummed his songs, and he drummed his prayers. He was a great healer in the land. Some said that he knew how to heal cancer. And sadly, he took it with him. The stories of our lives, the stories of the people of this land are written in our hearts and in our blood. I would not be here if it wasn't for the ancestors. I would not be here to challenge change and to institute change if it wasn't for the ancestors. Those who preceded me, who sacrificed and who gave of themselves so that there might be new life. I'm often told that as Indigenous people, we're survivors. I say we're more than survivors. We're the victors. We won. We're still here. We have not been defeated. Where we stand right now is of paramount import of where we are right now. We are more than just the feathers, the long hair and the braid. We are more than a people that has been exiled to small little locations, isolated locations called Indian reservations. I am more than just my treaty card number, which the government gives to me. To the government, I am 344-007-8301. My wife is 02. And just in case if people say, oh, I wish I had a treaty card, my goodness sakes, then I could get free gas. If that was true, I sure would like to know, because I still pay for everything. The government gives us these little cards. I want to share this with you, just in case you didn't know. The government gives us these little white cards with a little Canadian maple leaf in the side and photo ID and everything else. It's really wonderful. Looks very official and beautiful. But the funny thing of it is, it has an expiry date on it. So being the smart aleck that I am, when I got my card, I said, what is this? I said, is that an expiry date? And she said, yes, sir, it is. I said, so does that mean I have to die on that day? And my wife, being my wife, let's go. So, but we are more than just feathers, more than a number, more than just what we are called as Indians of this land. We are the victors. We're still here. Our songs still sing out over the lands. I saw that this Saturday there was, for the celebration of National Indigenous Day, the People's Day, that there was a powwow that was still going on down in the park. Who went to that? God bless you. To learn to dance. Did you get to dance? Yes. It's important to be able to be part of something, to come into the circle and to hear things. I wanted to see if I can do this right. Bear with me, you love technology. Let's try it this one. The people of this land gathered from many places, inviting many tribes from all over the lands to come together. My people are the Plains Cree. We were the ones that rode the horses with the long hair and the feathers. We invited all the nations and the tribes to come together to sing and dance and tell their stories. It was also an opportunity for us to share blood, to share in relationships, to build up new families. to have daughters go out and to sons come in. As a people, our songs rose up over the land. Our songs are strong, they're full of joy. It's about bringing community together, where everyone holds hands and they dance and they move in a great circle, reminding us of who we are in the Creator's creation, that we're part of everything, that we're not any better, we're equal to. And our song rises up over the land. The women and the men singing together. The drum, the great drum on the ground, the heartbeat of Mother Earth, on how it rises up. The heartbeat of Mother Earth singing back to us. The songs of our heart and the songs of our soul, the spirit of the people rising up as one. And how we are connected to all of creation, and how creation is connected to us. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have seen the movie Avatar? Disney, Avatar? Do you remember the hair that they had? And they took it and they connected it to the trees, they connected it to the animals. That's why we have our braids, so that the longer it is, and when you sit on the ground, you are closer to the Creator and to creation. It reminds you of who you are. My hair I have been blessed to be able to grow since I was allowed to be Indigenous. As a parish priest in my own ministries, I had parishes that didn't want me to be Indigenous. So when people would ask, is your priest an Indian? They would usually say, no, he's not. He's Portuguese. I have been incredibly blessed to be just about all the nations anywhere else, anything but an Indian. So I've been an honorary Portuguese, Spanish, I've been everything. Even in my youth, for you to understand, and especially in truth-telling, I grew up in a time and an age when it was unpopular to be an Indian. I remember the largest group that attacked me and beat me up was about nine individuals. I've been assaulted more times, been called a dirty Indian, I've been spat on, I've been things thrown at me. I've been called out. I've been followed in stores. I think I'm the best served in most stores. All I need to do is pull my braid out, and for a moment, so I always turn to my wife with a little bit of a joke, and I always say, do you need service? Just a second. And I look suspicious, and I'm surrounded by people already. Sir, can we help you? What are you looking for? What would you like? How can we assist you? That is our reality. Truth-telling is about telling honest truth about where we come from, who we are, and the stories that we uphold, who we are in our identity as individuals, not only as Christians, but also as people of this land. A while back, I got into a good discussion with a gentleman who said, how dare you call yourself First Nations? Aren't we all First Nations from wherever we come from? I said, I give you that, you're a First Nation. And native, are we not native to wherever we're born? I said, I give you that too, you're now a native. And I said, you've taken everything else from us as Indigenous peoples. What else can we call ourselves then? So I started playing around with another title, the original peoples. It's a twofold explanation of this. Now, with a lot of things that we do as Indigenous peoples was not something that we just made up, but something that was passed on and handed on down to us. The stories, the lessons, the prayers, the ceremony. Even going back to 1558, the prayer, the Sarum Rite. Did everyone read see my little article? I did a video for the Anglican Journal, and where basically what I did was I taught them about how important smudging was and the lifting and taking up of the smoke and offering it as a prayer. How we use our natural incense of the land, the natural incense of the Indigenous peoples, of sweetgrass, sage, cedar, and tobacco. Those four medicines, and where they're burnt, in whatever vessel you have, whether it be a small tin plate, a ceramic bowl, a shell, and that smoke comes up, and it rises up. You take the smoke, and you pour it over your head. And in the Sarum Rite, do you remember the prayer? God be in my head and my thinking. God be in my eyes and my seeing. Be with me in my mouth and my speaking. Be in my heart, and abide with me in my departure. It's the same prayer that we use in our smudging ceremony. So I always say in my talks that try to tell me that the Almighty One, God, the Creator, is not omnipotent, in other words, all-powerful, omniscient, all-knowing, omnipresent in all time and space, and omnipresent everywhere. God, who can teach the prayer in 1558, going back to the 1400s, and that early prayer, a prayer that we have used in our smudging ceremonies. And where we say a simple prayer that something like gathering up the smoke, Almighty One, be with me in my thinking, that your truth can reach even me. Be with me in my eyes, that I have long vision to see a glimpse of what you have prepared. Be with me in my speaking, that I can speak peace. Be with me in my heart, that your peace may abide. And be with me in my journeys as I go out into the land and with the peoples. Walk with us. The smudging ceremony is but one small ceremony. It's something that we do as needed and on a basis of special ceremonies. That's one of the reasons that as Indigenous peoples, we understood Christianity. We understood the missionaries because they did ceremony. And as Indigenous people, we said, I can understand that. Ceremony. So truth-telling, where are we today? Where are we now, right now, in the church? This month of June, bear with me. This month of June has been National Indigenous Peoples Month, or History Month. How many of you understand where your parish lies? On what land? How many of you understand the history of the peoples and where those very same people who used to be on this land, where are they now? How many of you understand having a relationship and understanding of why sometimes they may get a little upset when a golf course is built onto sacred land? How many of you might understand why we still see inequality, injustice, why there's so many Indigenous communities right now that are still under boil water advisories after 15 to 20 years? How many of you can understand why we're always the last ones consulted and the first ones blamed? How many of you can understand why the present is the way it is? How many of you can understand why it's offensive when a person speaks from their heart and says, "You always come hat in hand asking for a handout"? We've always talked about how much the federal government holds of our royalties from gas and oil. In that respect, I come from Onion Lake First Nation, Onion Lake Cree Nation, the Plains Cree. Our reserve, R119120, straddles the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. Let's see, I guess on here, so this. I always love Saskatchewan because it's hard to write and say, but it's easy to draw. And our reserve, our 119-120, straddles the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. We straddle what I call the conundrum of the world because Onion Lake is both on Alberta and in Saskatchewan. When I was younger, it was long distance to call across the highway. We live in 2 time zones, Mountain Standard and Central, 306, and we have 2 area codes, 306 and 780. Our post office has a Saskatchewan postal code, but sits on the Alberta side. I call it the conundrum of the world. And unfortunately, our reserve is one of those ones that if we ever held a blockade for the highway, no one would ever know, because our reserve is isolated, is off to the side. When they formed our reserve, they plunked 2 reserves together to make the one. That's why we have R119 and 120. And they put us in a place where nobody else wanted. They said, well, we'll put the Indians there. 1964, before they allowed us to become human beings and Canadians. We weren't allowed to vote. My grandfather, to serve in the army, had to give up his treaty number. He got it back. If you got married, my aunt married off the reserve, and so she lost her treaty number. She got it back after some fight. These are the realities that we lived in. 1964, before we were allowed to go into a store to shop for our own. 1964, before they allowed us to go and make a sale, to sell a cow, to sell a horse. Otherwise, we always had to have permission of the Indian agent. 1964, when those imaginary walls went down. At the beginning, I talked about the residential school. My grandfather was in the residential school way up in Mackenzie Valley, way up north. My mother was down near Cardston. And the reason for that was because they would not allow her to live in a residential school that was close by her home and family. So my mother went to residential school among the Blood people, the Blood tribe. We're Plains Cree, and we've always warred with the Blood Nation, and along with the Blackfoot, the Sioux, all to the south of us. So the fun part of it is, being a bishop, I was honored and blessed to be able to work with Bishop Sid Black. Do you remember him? Bishop Sid Black was an amazing, wonderful man. God bless you, my brother, if you're watching. We used to joke when we'd sit at the table together and we'd say, just imagine our grandfathers, if they saw us sitting together, you and I sitting together, and saying to each other, calling each other brother, just imagine what they would say. You would always, so Bishop Sid would say, yeah, they would be in absolute shock right now. I said, well, our people never got along, the Blackfoot, the Blood. We never got along. We always came south and we stole your horses. He says, all right. So that's how we'll give you that. But we always went north and stole your women. Our stories. We laugh. We share. We sing. We dance. As a people, we share our stories. And I've got some stories I want to share for you. Now, I think, how long do I have? About another 15, 20 minutes? Absolutely, Archbishop.
We need to finish at 7, Archbishop. So, we need to finish overall at 7. So, whatever time you take, we'll have questions after that, but we'll wrap up at 7.
Okay. I am the National Indigenous Anglican Archbishop. I am a presiding elder for ACIP, which is the Anglican Council of Indigenous Peoples. We all love our acronyms. I am also the presiding elder for Sacred Circle. Sacred Circle is equal to your General Synod, our General Synod. Our ACIP is as close to and equated with Council of General Synod, COGS. So, some of my people in ACIP, they call me the Indigenous Primate, and which sometimes causes the Primate of the Anglican Church of Canada to go into an absolute spasm, because there can't be two primates, there can only be one. But our people, we understand multiple leadership. One of a hunt, one of food gathering, one of food distribution and sharing, one of packing up the camp and ready to go, one of looking after the elders, one of the history keepers and wisdom keepers, one healer. And so all kinds of leaders, all of us coming together. Our ceremonies are those which held us together. And as a nation, we laughed, we sang, and we danced. My ministry has been one of a constant push, constant stretching, constant evolvement in evolving. I remember the first time, and that was at Reverend Andrew Wesley's ordination into the priesthood at Redeemer down on Bloor. He invited me to that service. And I remember the first time coming from the college, and I walked in to the church. Is that sweetgrass? Is that sage being burnt? And I wasn't sure. No, couldn't be. And all of a sudden there was an elder up there who started to drum. And he sang an honor song and an eagle song. And he lifted the eagle feather high in a prayer and a blessing. In that service I cried because I never, ever, ever thought that my church would ever do that, would ever allow that in the church. That's why I played that drumming song. Because nowadays, in this time and this age, as the National Indigenous Anglican Archbishop, I push the grounds on a constant basis to try to show the church that we are here, and as the church, as a people, as a nation, we the people, we the nationhood, all of us as relatives can sing and dance and pray together. The stories that we share can all come together. We're stronger together than we are apart. We've proven that to the federal government, and we have yet to prove that to ourselves. Just imagine the power of the Indigenous voice if all of our voices were one. We could enact change within the federal government. Somebody asked me, well, which is the right party to vote for? And I said, well, it doesn't matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. In other words, every party has failed. But yet, the people, the First Nations, the Indigenous people, the Aboriginals, we're here, and we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We are treaty people. And we invited you into this treaty as you invited us into the treaty. Even though the treaties have never been upheld, the 94 calls to action are still there. Only 13 of the 94 calls to action have been enacted and put into place. 13 out of 94. We have a long ways to go. Truth-telling. Truth hurts. I wanted to share with you just a few stories now of some of our ceremonies. I can go for days because I have a lifetime of stories to tell you. We have a very prayerful people. Our people are very prayerful. And I wanted to share with you a song close to as we start to close and get things ready for the Q&A and questions. Part of the funeral service and rites for the Indigenous peoples, and where death is taken very, very seriously. It's not something just to be thrown away and put away with so that there's no emotion. We have 2 days of wakes. And all I can think of is which we share with our Irish brothers and sisters and our family and relatives. And it's a time of celebration. It's a time of laughter. There's kids running around all over the place. There's storytelling, there's songs. And then at the same time, there's great ceremony. While this is all happening, the women all get together and they make armbands for the pallbearers made out of lace and ribbon and cloth. While it's going on, there's food always on preparation, always for anyone that walks through the door. If you're hungry, we feed you. You're part of the family, your community. At the service itself, it is held in with great reverence. The body which has been with the community for 2 days is now lowered to the ground. A blanket is placed upon it. And all the family is gathered, the community is gathered. The drummers start to sing a song. This song is called The End of the Trail. And the drummer is Edmund Bull, and I encourage you to buy his music. It's a beautiful song. And I remember the conflict that we have within our own peoples. I had a parish on the reserve, on one of the other reserves. I always assumed that every reserve was the same, and that was me in my youth. And the young boys, the grandsons, they asked me, Father Chris, would it be okay if we honored our grandfather's last wish and we sang a drumming song for him, an honor song? I said, that's good with me. This is at the hall. And then they asked, can we do a smudging ceremony? I said, that's what we do on our reserve, yes. And then can we do our part as grandsons to sing just for him his favorite song? I said, absolutely. That's what we do in our community. Is it okay then that if we accompany his casket in the back of the wagon all the way to the cemetery, and we sing and drum all the way, round dance songs? I said, that's beautiful. Boys, you do it. Is it okay when we get to the church that as we're getting the casket off, we drum and as an honor guard all the way to his grave site, and we will sing going home, the end of the trail? And I said, yes, because that's what my people do. And this is the conflict that is embedded in each and every one of us as Indigenous peoples on and off the reserve, where some of us who went to residential school will not do anything Indian. So I had one of the honor and hereditary, if you will, bell ringers for the church on the reserve, an Indigenous man, and he was absolutely offended to hear all this Indian stuff. This is what we deal with now, the aftermath of residential school. Our people are embattled within themselves as much as the church is embattled in trying to understand us. What does it mean to be Indigenous? What does it mean to be Indigenous ministries? What does it mean for us to be Indian today? Now, even the word Indian is a slander because it was used in bad ways. And so people say, well, no, you should call yourselves First Nations, Aboriginal. We don't know who we are anymore because of residential school. And thus we fight with ourselves. But going back to the ceremony, This is a great lament. What happens? They take the casket. They take the casket. They take the casket. And they line it up. All the community comes together, and they come and they pay respects. They come and they touch the casket from the foot, coming up to the head. They look upon the individual, and either they will sign with a sign of the cross on the forehead, or they will give them a kiss on the head. And the usual statement is this: it's not goodbye, I'll see you later. When it's all closed, all done, the family has done their turn. Everyone's come and shaken their hands. The casket is closed and turned. All the young men, the pallbearers, come. They take their place and they lift it up. The trolley goes out. As usually one of the elders, I would then lead. The drummers singing this song would take us out. The young men would be singing this. And they would sing it one more time when the casket is being lowered down into the ground, as a reminder of how important life is. Who we are as a people, to love, to sing, to dance, to persevere, and to be here to this very moment. When under the assimilative process of the federal government and with the cooperation of the Church, they worked to try to eliminate us as people. There was a song I heard a while back, and it basically said, they tried to bury us without realizing we're seeds. I thought that was a very powerful statement. Where we go forward today is the challenge, where the Church is still struggling to understand Indigenous ministries, trying to understand my role and what I stand for and where I sit within the leadership. I was once called a program. I'm not really an archbishop, I'm just a program. And I said, well, if that's the case, then take away the honorific of being an archbishop. Give me back my diocese, my beloved, which I had to give up. I say this for my dear brother, Andrew Asbill, who is the bishop of this diocese. There is nothing more precious. You will never know how much he loves all of you and how precious you are to him in this ministry. Bless your bishop, pray for your bishop, and walk with your bishop always. I had to give up my diocese to become an archbishop. So now I have no authority as an archbishop. I can't baptize, I can't consecrate, I can't ordain. I had to take my crozier, the sign of my authority as a diocesan bishop. I went up to the high altar and I laid it down. I knelt and I cried. And this happens still today. Bless your bishop. Andrew's a dear brother of mine. I love him. And I work very closely with all the bishops. And I bless them. I counsel with them. And I co-consecrate with them. These eagle feathers have blessed all the new bishops. I have blessed each and every one of them with these eagle feathers. Because if they walk closely with us as Indigenous peoples, then they will start to understand us and work with us and walk with us and talk with us and maybe, yes, even dance with us. That is my prayer. That is my prayer. We're in the truth-telling phase right now. And as truth tellers, it sometimes hurts. I could tell you stories for days. That's what I am. I'm a storyteller. I wish I could be here with you to keep on going and just ask Aaron, you pull up your sleeping bags, take a nap when you want to, and I could go on. What do they call that? A filibuster, I think it is, in parliamentary talk? But I love you. And so I'm going to ask you to hold on to those thoughts, to see where truth-telling sits with you, where reconciliation is. Do you remember in the beginning when we used to use the land acknowledgements? Then do we have to use it every Sunday? Well, okay, every second Sunday, once a month now. Oh, well, do we have to do it that often still? Well, we'll just put it in the bulletins for you to read now. Oh no, now it's just in the front of the church for all to see because it's more public that way. We've just gone through the National Indigenous... Ooh, I like that. Don't even have to touch it. We've just gone through the National Indigenous Peoples Day. How much do you know? How much have you learned? Every day is more than just one day. I tell that to my wife every day. I celebrate every day with her. I've been married with her now for 45 years. 45 years. Oh, 46. Sorry, my dear. 46 years. And our anniversary is every day. I don't wait for a special day once a year to take her out for supper or to bring her flowers or buy her a gift. Every day's an anniversary. I turn to her, honey, do you want to go out for dinner? Or do you want to bless me with a home-cooked meal? Can I buy you something? Anything. I say the same to you. Celebrate each and every day with each other. Honor each other, love each other. Reach out, hold somebody's hand and say, I love you. Because there's no guarantee for tomorrow. I learned that because there is a vicious rumor going around that we're all getting older. Those golden years, do you remember that lie that was told to you? I love Phyllis Diller's statement on that. Youth is wasted on the young. Treasure who you are. Learn something today. Grab a book and learn about the treaties. Learn about the Indigenous people and their circumstance, where they stand and sit and live, and right now they love and dance as well. Learn about the land that you're on right now and the land that you call home and where that land came from. Truth hurts. It's okay to be offended. As Indigenous people, we try to, believe it or not, soft sell a lot of things for the people off the reserve. I take you back to my reserve now. Just this is my last story, honestly. Our reserve, R119120, We went through what they call the TLE, the Treaty Land Entitlement. In other words, where way back when, back in about 1954, they had guaranteed do a census of all the people, and they were going to give us a certain amount of land per individual. And so it took up to about 2008, I think it was, 2008 or 2006, before that was actually put into place. In 2008, 2006, they said, okay, this is how much land you get to our reserve. And our reserve, wow, okay, we're going to be, and they said, oh, no. We'll give you land, but it can't be this good land that's around here. So they tried to give us land that was down in southern Saskatchewan and Alberta. Do you know where the Badlands are? That was what they wanted to give us, desert. And we said, what are we going to do with that? As it is, our own reserve right now doesn't have very good topsoil. It's good for grazing, and that's it. But what the federal government didn't know when they put us in a lot is to that land, that it's rich with oil and heavy oil and natural gas underneath. And we negotiated for our own land rights, so my reserve is doing not too bad. But where we are right now, our reserve, to expand the land, we said what we want to do is we want to expand our reserve. So we want land that's all next to us. So the government wouldn't help, or the province wouldn't help as well. So land prices jumped 300% overnight. Farmers who used to be right adjoining to the reserve became millionaires overnight. Many of them big motorhomes and swimming pools, big houses and everything else. And so the federal government put it out on the news and said, oh, these Indians of Onion Lake First Nation, they just received their treaty land entitlement of roughly $49 million that was given to them. And I remember people being mad at me as an Onion Laker and said, that's all you Indians ever get is our tax money. When the truth and reality is, we didn't get the money. The farmers who were right next to the reserve got all the money. My people, still, we got the land back, but now we still don't have the money. We're a treaty people, was a saying 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I ask you, and one last time, learn something today. When you celebrate something, an anniversary, a birthday, learn something new. Learn about where your people are and where the land came from and who was on the land before. Pray for our people, walk with our people, support our people, enable our people so that we can be strong as we naturally are. So much so that we have the audacity to become a national Indigenous Anglican Archbishop and fight for our rights. Stand so that we can be seen among all the peoples, so that we can build the church and walk with you. My mandate has been that, so that we can walk together and bless the church together. I know there's 1,001 questions, and I'm going to ask my dear brother now to come and we will do our closing part and then answer your questions. So hopefully I've been able to tell you about truth-telling. We're a long ways yet from reconciliation. And remember that reconciliation says nothing about recompense. We just want reconciliation so that you understand us and are willing to listen and hear us. Because we're here and we're not going anywhere. Because we're not just survivors, we're victors. And may all of us be able to stand together, hold hands, sing together, and dance together. Amen.
Thank you very much, Archbishop Chris. We've actually used all our time for this evening at 7 o'clock, which is our closing time. So, unfortunately, we're not going to have time to take questions from the floor. I'm sorry about that. But I know that we have had a rich feast of insight, of story, of wisdom, of sharing. Archbishop Chris, we're grateful to you for being here with us all the way through the day and for opening your heart and your spirit and your experience to us. I know that you're off to General Synod in the morning, and that's going to be an important week, and we're going to be praying for you and for Synod. And I want to say thank you to everybody for being here this evening, for sharing in this evening. And just as we finish, could we just express our appreciation one more time for Archbishop Chris Harper. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Find somewhere cool if you can.